Yo, what's going on guys, CultOfMush back at it with a $400 gaming PC build. This is a great entry-level build, whether you're looking to play games like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, League of Legends, and WoW and just get higher settings and higher frame rates out of those games, or you're looking to dabble into higher-end games like Metal Gear Solid 5, Fallout 4, Star Wars Battlefront, The Witcher 3, games like that. Obviously, with a build like this, you won't be playing those games maxed out, but you will be getting pretty good settings and pretty good frame rates, better than what a console would give you. So with that being said, let's get right into this. With the CPU of the build, I went with the AMD Athlon X4 860K 3.7GHz quad-core processor. Now this CPU is $70. Right off the bat, a lot of you guys might ask why I didn't go with an Intel Core i3 or something like that. Well, a Core i3 is like $110 to $130, so you really can't fit it into a $400 budget. The Pentium is also an option, but being just a dual core isn't enough anymore. I would much prefer the X4 860K. It's a quad-core CPU clocked at 3.7GHz, and it's only $70. Also, the FX 6300 could have been an option, but again, that's about $30 more expensive, so I really think for a $400 build, the 860K is the best route to go with. It's a quad-core processor. You can just use the packed-in CPU cooler, so you're saving money there. And overall, if it's paired with a decent video card, this can push decent performance in a lot of games. And just for the really cheap price, getting a quad-core CPU, this was really the only route you could go with. For the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte GA-F2A88XM-D3H Micro ATX motherboard. It is a micro ATX board, but that doesn't really matter in a budget build. It's got 4 RAM slots up to DDR3 2133MHz and up to 64GB of max memory. It's got RAID support, crossfire support, 8 SATA 6GB/s ports. So this motherboard has all the features you're going to need. It comes at a really good price of around $60 to $65. It's going to get the job done, and in a budget build, that's really what you're looking to get out of a motherboard. For memory, I went with G.Skill Ripjaws Series 8GB, 2 4GB sticks running at DDR3 1600MHz, $30. This deal is just the nuts. Like $30 for 8GB of RAM is ridiculous. And I really think this is the cheapest that 8GB of RAM is ever gonna go. I haven't seen it go below $30, and who really cares at this point? 8GB of RAM, $30, 8GB is a perfect amount no matter what game you're playing. The higher end games, the lower end games, just get 8GB of RAM. What a great price. And it's high quality RAM too. It's G.Skill Ripjaws, 8GB. And like I said, the motherboard does have 4 RAM slots, so in the future, if you do want to go for a 16GB configuration, you will have that option. But for now, especially in a budget build, 8GB makes all the sense in the world, and for a great price, you can't go wrong with it. Moving on to storage, I went with the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB. No SSD in this build. Obviously, with the $400 build, I really can't go with an SSD. Unless you just want to go with a 120GB SSD, and I think nobody really wants to do that. You really need the mass storage that the Caviar Blue is going to offer with 1TB of space. Especially if you're buying this build and expecting to buy a lot of games on Steam and you want to have them downloaded all at once, you're going to need a terabyte. 120GB is not enough. In fact, when I had a 120GB SSD and using that just for my OS and my key applications, 120GB became pretty limiting. So using a 120GB SSD as your only drive just doesn't make a lot of sense. Go with the Caviar Blue. It's $50. It's a great price, and for a mechanical drive, it has pretty decent speeds as well. Moving on to the video card, I went with the Gigabyte GeForce GTX 950. This is a 2GB video card. It's got the dual WindForce cooler, and this goes for around $140 right now. Depending on where you shop, you can also find a mail-in rebate for around $10, so that'll knock the price down to $130 if you decide to use that. If you guys have watched my previous videos, you know that I personally think the $140 to $160 market of GPUs right now is kind of lacking. Really, the only options right now are the GTX 950 and the R7 370. So I think the GTX 950 is just the better option out of the two. And I have a GTX 950 myself from MSI. I've tested that on my channel, so you guys can check those videos out if you want. And the video card does pretty well. I was able to play The Witcher 3 at high settings and get 30 frames per second. I was able to play Metal Gear Solid 5 maxed out and get pretty good frame rates. I played Grand Theft Auto 5 and got really good frame rates, so even on the higher end games, the GTX 950 will hold up. And for the price of $140 right now, it is the best option. Hopefully as AMD and Nvidia get prepped to release their new video cards, something better will be released, but for now, the 950 is really the best option. For the power supply, I went with the EVGA 500W 80+ certified ATX power supply. This is a $35 power supply. You don't need anything crazy. This build is not going to use a lot of power. Honestly, you could probably get by with something like a 400W power supply. So this 500W power supply for $35 is a really good option. It's very cheap. And as is with the theme of this build, it's gonna get the job done, and that's really what you want out of some of the parts in a $400 build. Finally, for the case, I went with the NZXT Source 210. This case is available in white or black, so pick the color of your preference. I personally prefer this case in black, but that is a bit more expensive right now, so just get whichever one you want. The case is pretty basic on the exterior, but the interior is going to get the job done once again. And in a budget build, in my opinion, the case is one of the things you worry the least about. Get the actual performance going and then just get a case that's gonna do its job. And that's what you're getting with the NZXT Source 210. For $35, it's a case that's gonna hold up. It's nothing amazing, but you're not looking for something amazing in a build like this. So that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit that like button. If you disliked it, obviously hit the dislike button. If you have a request for a future video, leave it in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.